द लिटरेरी सर्कल लंदन में आपका खैर मकदम और स्वागत है। वेलकम। हुमा के साथ इस प्रोग्राम में आपकी मुलाकात बहुत सारे ऐसे लोगों से हुई है जो अपने शोबों में बड़ा नाम कर चुके हैं, बड़ा काम कर चुके हैं। अतुल जी, welcome to Huma Price Online. It's a real honor for me that we've managed to catch up with you in Lahore. Now you live in India, I live in England, and we're meeting in Lahore. Isn't that wonderful?
It is wonderful. Usually people from India and Pakistan have to meet in a third country. But it's good that two people are meeting in Lahore.
It's wonderful. It's fantastic. The first question I want to ask you is, what inspired you to pursue a career in acting and directing and showbiz? Your very first inspiration.
And writing. Well, usually, our introduction to cinema or theatre is through the actors. I had a very interesting childhood. My mother was a very busy gynecologist in Lucknow, and my father was a very busy politician. So either he was in the jails or he was traveling. And my mother was day and night. Those days, in the 60s, when I was growing up, the childbirths happened at home mostly.
Yes, sir.
Every city in this subcontinent had one Sarkari hospital. Most of them were made by Lady Dufferin.
Midwives.
The Lady Dufferin was the wife of a viceroy of India, Lord Dufferin.
Okay.
So his wife was the first ones who made these public hospitals for the women. Otherwise, the childbirth was a काम की एक दाई आती थी मोहल्ले की और करके चली जाती थी. अभी तो डॉक्टर्स बनने भी नहीं शुरू हुए थे हिंदुस्तान में. उस वक्त लेडी डफरिन ने अस्पताल बनवाए थे, वहां से बाहर से डॉक्टर आते थे और लोगों को, बच्चों को पैदा करवाते थे. Can I switch into Hindi time?
Yes, absolutely. Whatever makes
Anyway,
you comfortable.
so these used to be the hospitals. When in the 20th century, slowly the number of the doctors and lady doctors increased. Then the practice was that दाई को ना बुला के डॉक्टर को घर पे बुला के डिलीवरी कराई जाती थी या कभी-कभी डॉक्टर के यहाँ पहुँच जाते थे. These nursing homes were not there as they are blooming today in India and Pakistan. So my mother was a very busy person being a gynecologist. I must have been a handful, a shaitan bacha. And those days, the All India Radio Lucknow, which was established 1 year before Lahore's radio was established in 1936, had a certain training program for children. And 2-3 batches used to work there. So my mother will send them, तुम जाओ, कुछ सीखो जाके radio station में और दोनों batch attend करो.
Just to keep you busy.
Just to keep me busy. And the radio station Lucknow had a wonderful training program. On piano, we used to stand and learn music.
How wonderful.
Music at the age of 6, 7, 8. By that time, I was 9. I already was an approved radio voice.
Wow.
And I used to sing in the children's choirs and this and that. By the time I was 10, because I was introduced to the radio, I got introduced to the radio drama. So I was the approved drama voice. So once this bug had me, this bug not only was of doing, but also, you see, children have such vanity. I must have also had it. Because when I started doing drama on radio those days, and radio was the only entertainment, mass entertainment medium, apart from cinema. So, and cinema was too far away in Bombay, etc. So, we used to get postcards with my name on it.
Fan following.
Fan following. कि अतुल भैया का काम उस नाटक में बहुत अच्छा लगा. What else are 10-year, 11-year-old needs? The one had name in it. As they say that human beings do everything for 3 things. One is name, one is money, the other one is sex. So these are the 3 basic inspirations for which every human beings do things. So I had name and fame and some money. 2.5 rupees those days.
I want to ask you about anything else at the age of 10.
So I got inspired, and by the time I was 13, 14, I had decided. I had known about the business of National School of Drama, so my goal was that after my intermediate, that is high school plus 2, I joined the National School of Drama. I started seeing a lot of plays, I started watching a lot of plays, I started doing a lot of plays. So it was, in a way, predisposition that I had to go in the field of theatre. And from National School of Drama, one of the new things that I got there by being in the theatre, I knew it, that being a director is a much more important thing. Being a writer is a much more important thing than just being an actor who is just a veneer. So I never wanted to be just a veneer. So I went into writing, I went into direction, and when I joined the National School of Drama, I was already writing things. And after having done my course in direction, it was easy for me to get into theatre direction, theatre writing, and film writing. That's my journey, and that's my inspiration.
Now, you worked in some very, very big hit films like Mission Kashmir, Three Idiots. Can you share some memorable experiences from your time working on those two?
My work in both these two films, which were both produced by Vidhu Vinod Chopra Sahab, was different because in Three Idiots, I was an actor, purely an actor. And in the film which came before that, Mission Kashmir, I was a dialogue writer. I was a co-screenplay writer and a dialogue writer. So there my role was as a writer. Of course, writing is what I was doing in Bombay for some time. And my experience of working in that film was wonderful. It was wonderful because it was one of the few commercially hit successful films which I had done.
Mission Kashmir.
Mission Kashmir.
Was it actually shot in Kashmir?
It was shot in Kashmir, it was shot in Bombay, it was shot in some other places, but it was definitely
Mainly
shot in Kashmir also.
Right.
All the exteriors are shot there, the interiors we made in Bombay and we did that. Like it happens in the film industry always, for the convenience and for the economic reasons and other things.
Of course, taking a whole crew in cast.
Taking a whole crew. The crew was taken by the exterior shots were taken. And after that, when the interiors you can do in a studio,
Anywhere.
Do and stay with the whole huge 200 people unit there. So it was a wonderful experience. It was a wonderful experience because a budding star, a wonderful actor like Hrithik Roshan was there. It was a wonderful experience because two very experienced stars. I'm talking about
Karishma.
no, not Karishma. Karishma was not there. It was because Sanjay Dutt Saab was there.
Of course.
And Jagbu Dada was there. Jackie Shroff Saab was there. It was a wonderful experience because newly breaking star like Preeti Zinta was there. And of course, a very lovely theatre actress who is as lovely a film actress was also there and in that role of the mother. So it was a wonderful thing and great crew. And Vidhu Vinod Chopra is a wonderful director. I'm sure you must have seen his 12th Fail, which came recently.
Yes.
And wonderful thing was nobody does in the film industry easily because whatever prize money was decided for the top crew, which includes the cameraman, the art director, the sound man, and some of the special effect guys, and the writers, which included me and others. Me as a dialogue writer and my screenplay writers. Whatever money was decided, when the film made much more money than expected, he gave us a bonus.
How wonderful is
And
that?
the bonus was 1.5 times than whatever was the promised money.
How wonderful.
As a bonus, we were also taken to the premieres both in London and New York,
Wow.
flying business class.
Wow.
So that's the kind of a man Vidhu Vinod Chopra is.
Yes, a generous man.
Generous man.
In
And of course, in which is my biggest hit still,
Three Idiots.
is the Three Idiots, and that particular scene of Three Idiots where I appear for 2 minutes. That also tells you that sometimes a small role. Stanislavski, the great theatre master, had a saying. He said, "There are no small roles, there are only small actors." That proved this thing, that there are no small roles. Even a small role can get you as much recognition, as much potential to do something. And it was a wonderful experience. Still, people remember that scene. It's about 20 years since the film got released. But still, people remember that scene world over. And I was very angry with the director of the film, Raju Hirani Sahab, who was my old friend. I telephoned him after the third day of the release and I said, "Raju, I hate you." He said, "Kya hua तुझे?" I said, "Raju, मैं 20 साल से फिल्में लिख रहा हूँ और मुझे इतने फोन कभी नहीं आए जितने कि तुम्हारी फिल्म में 2 मिनट का रोल करने के बाद आते हैं, कोई कनाडा से, कोई ऑस्ट्रेलिया से, कोई अमेरिका से, कहीं से फोन कर रहे हैं."
Acha, Amir Khan is supposed to be a perfectionist. What was it like working with him?
आमिर साहब के साथ मैंने इसके अलावा भी जो है इस फिल्म के अलावा मैंने पीके में काम किया है. He is definitely a perfectionist and a thorough gentleman. Thorough gentleman. उनके साथ सेट पे रहना, उनके साथ बात करना हमेशा बड़ा अच्छा लगता है. और वो जिस तरह से चीज़ों को करते हैं, जिस पॉजिटिविटी से चीज़ों को करते हैं, इसीलिए मुझे मुझे गुस्सा आता है. एक आदमी ने अगर मान लीजिए एक्सपेरिमेंट किया और डांसिंग चिट्ठा बनाई, नहीं चली. I studied in Germany and I had a German teacher, her Professor Fritz Benowitz. He borrowed a line from Lala Lajpat Rai. No, sorry, not from Lala Lajpat Rai, but from Bal Gangadhar Tilak, who said that freedom is my birthright. And he used to say, failure is every artist's birthright. If you fear to fail, then you'll never do anything new.
Of course.
So Amir is a man who may have failed in a few films, but he's always ready to do something new. And that's what makes Amir Khan Amir Khan.
I mean, each film of his is different. Now,
Yes.
You've mentioned your roles as an actor, writer, director, quite a few hats to wear, wouldn't you say? How do you balance all of these?
Well. I don't think it's such a tough thing. And as an actor, I am born only in this century. As a writer, I have been doing these things from the last century.
Right.
As a writer and as a theatre director. Actually, I'm now wearing a fourth hat as well, which is museum maker.
Oh.
So,
What challenges have you faced in your career and how have you overcome them?
as I was telling you, that there's a fifth hat which I'm wearing. There's a fourth hat which I'm wearing these days, which is as a museum maker. Now, people often ask me that, are you a curator? No, I'm not. Do you design museum buildings? No, I don't. Are you a museumologist? No, I'm not. Then how come you can make museums? The thing is, Huma, that museums are changing. Museums are no more a glass case with an object in it. They're no more what was known as Europe as a curiosity cabinet, in which you have a glass case in which you put some ajubas, in which you put some big jade brought from China, in which you put some big hira brought from India, and this and that, or some bones of a big elephant from somewhere. These days of the museum are gone. Now museums are much more experiential, much more enveloping, much more engaging. So I am in the new age museums, speaking of the new age museums. You might be wondering that what he's talking about. Let me give you an example. For example, I made in India, in a town called Gandhinagar, which is the capital of Gujarat, a museum on Mahatma Gandhi. It's called Gandhi Patel. Now, I'll tell you how I make it experiential. For example, Mahatma Gandhi came back to India in 1915 from South Africa after being called a Mahatma. He'd already done big battles, won big battles in South Africa for the rights of the Indians against the white British people who were ruling South Africa. Now, when he comes to India, there's a big welcome done to him on the 9th of January 1915 in Bombay. One of the people who had come to receive him, amongst the 6,000 people that chilly morning, was his political guru, Gopal Krishna Gokhale. And when Gokhale rode with him in a cart which was being pulled by men, not by horses, he said, "You must be very happy man today, Gandhi." I said, "Yes, I'm very happy to see such a reception in my own country." He said, "But you know damn nothing about this country." I said, "That's also right. All my life, I've been in South Africa, I've lived abroad. When 18, I went to London to study. Then after 2 years, I came back. Then I stayed in India for a year, in Bombay and in Rajkot, where I tried practicing my law and I failed. And as a failed lawyer, I went from here to here and back here." So he said, "First sit in a train and see India for at least 3 years. Extensively travel, go to every nook and corner." And Gandhi went to such places, जिसका हमने अपने नाम भी नहीं सुना होगा. Now at this spot, we have made a train carriage of the same vintage. You sit in the train carriage moves not physically, but how does a train move? A train moves because a telephone pole moves and a tree moves and a temple moves and people move.
Is that the same train that he sat in?
Yeah, see, he's had in many trains, but we have made a carriage of that vintage. Like
the kind of trains he sat
in.
Right.
You sit in that carriage and the train travels. The first travel is from Pune to Bolpur, which is the station to go to Gurudev's Shantiniketan, where he had gone and the first journey. And when you reach Shantiniketan, suddenly there's a film running between Gandhi and Tagore, which we shot specially, which I wrote and which
with actors.
With actors.
Wow.
And then you see that what transpired between Gandhi and
this is all in the museum.
This is all in the museum. What transpired between Gandhi and Tagore. Why had he come to meet Tagore? What he did get from Tagore or give Tagore in this osmosis between the two great minds. The man who had called him the Mahatma. From there the train moves and goes to Madras. In Madras, Mahajan Sabha, there was a great meeting in which Gandhi got furious to see that Indians of different kinds were sitting in batches of different kinds. Those who had this kind of a tika were sitting with this kind of a tika, those had this kind of a tika were sitting with that kind of a tika, those had one tika, they were sitting with one tika. He said, please come forward. No, we cannot come because this tika is different. And Gandhi was furious and he said, a country where people have to be separated by even a mark. All of them are Hindus.
So what
this Hindu is not sitting with that Hindu.
What he had fought in South Africa.
And then
he was faced with that.
First I'll have to fight you guys. Why have you come to listen to me? Get out. And then people started mixing and mixing. How Gandhi was learning that how Indians are broken into separate chambers and not meeting each other. अभी दलित पे और हरिजन पे तो बाद में पहुंचेंगे, तभी तो ब्राह्मणों के बीच में ये चल रहा है। फिर गांधी जी की यात्रा वहां से हमने शुरू की, ट्रेन चलती बनारस पहुंची।
This is in the museum.
और बनारस पहुंचते, बनारस में at the inauguration of the BHU, Banaras Hindu University, which was opened by Mahamana Madan Mohan Malvi, what happened in that meeting, which was etc. So you travel with Gandhi through the museum. And like other museums, you don't have to read. Other museums, what happens, there are 3 things in a cabinet and then you read.
Yes.
If you have to read, sit at home and read. You have a laptop.
Absolutely, I agree.
If you have to see only pictures, then sit at home and see the pictures on your laptop.
It sounds so innovative, what you
do. It's innovative. I'm a theatre man, essentially, no matter how much I work in films or wherever. In theatre, when I call you, Huma, to show you a play, I don't call you that, come on, I'll make you experience Shakespeare. And then I give you a book. Read now Shakespeare. You'll experience it. No, I have to give you an experience which you cannot get at home.
Yes, of course.
Similarly, I give experiences to people, those who cannot have those experiences at home. They have to come to a theatre, they have to come to my museums, which are experiential museums.
Where is this museum then?
This one particular one is in Gandhinagar.
Gandhinagar.
Which is the capital of Gujarat.
Right.
People think Ahmedabad is the capital of Gujarat. No, it is not.
Right.
It's like I always thought, even when I went to Switzerland for the first time in 86, that I thought that either Geneva or Zurich will be that capital. It is not. It is in Bern. Or when you went to West Germany, you thought that Berlin will be capital, but Berlin was just a small city of West Germany. The capital was in Bonn. So in the same way, in Gujarat, the capital is in Gandhinagar.
Wow, amazing. So what is your philosophy on the role of theatre in the cultural landscape of India?
Well, theatre is the one which has given birth to the films, not the technology, but the stories. Theatre is very, very a foundational stone for many of the arts. And why I say so, that it's the foundational stone for many of the arts, my belief is that even before we started speaking, even before we evolved languages, theatre was there to help us.
Silent theatre.
Silent means whatever sounds came with it. If Huma at that time came to my room, and because the language had not evolved, I did not have a word called pani or water, but still I must have offered a tired Huma coming down from London to Lahore to offer her some water. So I'll do some kind of a theatrical gesture and Then I'll go and get the water.
Yes.
Then Huma will have the water. So what were we doing? We were using theatrical language to
Yes.
communicate, even before we evolved the languages.
So how
So
important?
it was not that, no, just shut up and sit down till the language will be evolved one day, then only I'll ask you. If I had to tell you a story, if Huma asked me that, Atul, what happened? You went with 3 men in the morning for the shikar, and now you two have come, where is my husband? And I had to give an answer. How did I give that answer? Through theatrical tools. Then I said, oh, ha, 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 oh. And Huma understood.
So easy to
Oh my
understand. Yeah.
This is what happened.
Mm.
Because this जानवर that I showed was different from the other जानवर which I showed. मैंने पूरी बात समझा दी. So theatrical tools have been with us since time immemorial, even before the language evolved. And that is going to be with human beings, even after the cinema changes. Now we no more see cinema the way we have been seeing it for the last 100 years.
Of course.
Now we have these glasses and we see everything in a kind
3D,
of a 3D, 4D things.
Of course.
And it'll change. It'll change so much that maybe there'll be a chip inside, and maybe like the films are being beamed these days, you no more have to take a film to a theater to show it.
Of course.
It is just beamed. Maybe things will be, you will just speak at your hand something that I want to see Lagan. लगान आ जाएगी और आप बैठेंगे और कुछ आपको देखने की जरूरत है, लगान आपको दिखाई दे रही है अंदर ही अंदर. आपने लगान देख लिया ना, स्टॉप, मुझे किसी से मिलना है, और फिर लगान रुक जाएगी, फिर आप फिर देखेंगे. So no matter how much the tools of watching a film change, tools of watching a story change, technology of watching a story change, theater will be there
Always.
till the human beings are there.
So you've done a lot of historical and biographical projects. How do you approach writing screenplays for those? Is it different from writing for films?
No.
Which are just fiction?
No, they are also films. And in a fictional film, you have all the liberty to create what. In these films, you have to first know the story in detail yourself. So there's a lot of research involved to be able to know it. And not just one point of view, unless until you are limited in your point of view and you want to tell only one side of the story. That means you have to look at all sorts of histories available. But there is no one history of certain something.
Of course.
I mean, how do these lovely rocks in London, what are they called? The Stonehenges.
Yes.
The Stonehenge. How did they came to be so lovely placed? There are many points of view, right? Starting from aliens to this or that to whatever, and what technology was used. So I have to look at everything and then decide that what is my point of view about that history. I'm talking a story of the Stonehenge. So you have to get and then be firm on your point of view of history, and then how do you tell that? So you have to do a lot of research, which is not needed for the fiction films.
Right. Okay.
Fiction film also needs sometimes some things. If let us say I'm talking about a murder mystery in fiction, then also have to know that what are the 13 ways of murdering a man. So there also the other kind of research is involved. But nevertheless, here very deep research is involved. And then, as much as you want to know what happened, actually, you also pray to the Lord that there are some dark areas where nobody has explained you anything. So I always say that writing for a historical or a biopic is like the mountains which are seen on the air, in the air, on the horizon, in the sky, but half the mountain is submerged in the sea, where nobody knows about the trajectory of the mountain. But those are the areas. You know that one peak is there and the other peak is here.
Mm-hmm.
In between, the mountain must have continued. Nobody is putting 3 pyramids there.
Mm-hmm.
It's a mountain. So it must have gone under the sea. But that's where you can take your liberties when it goes under the sea.
Right.
So you look for the dark areas also and then use those dark areas. I would like to share with you, for example, one example of what Mr. Shyam Benegal, my teacher, my mentor, with him I made a 10-hour long film on the story of making of India's constitution, which
Wow.
took 3 years to write.
10 hours.
10-hour long film. You can see it in episodes of 1 hour each. So when I'm writing this, there are a few things which are clear as the morning light, which is called the Constitution Assembly debates. Whatever was debated on the floor of the House, in which more than 300 members took part, in which Mr. Ambedkar was the head of the drafting committee, where the aims and objectives were tabled by Pandit Nehru, etc., where Dr. Rajendra Prasad was the chairperson of the House, where a lot of great Indian minds who were lawyers and had other expertise were all taking part. So now Constitutional Assembly debates are all written on the paper verbatim, who spoke what is there. So that's very clear. Now we can't play with them because that's written down. Like in British Parliament, whatever is spoken is immediately written down.
Mm-hmm.
You know that in that date, that was said by the Prime Minister, and that date, that MP said this. But there were other committees. Because everything in a constitution making, everything is kind of referred to a committee which then deliberates. The whole 300 people cannot be deliberating about a subject about which they don't know everything.
Mm-hmm.
So these committees deliberated. In committees, there are nothing verbatim. There are only minutes of the committees. But if I have to create a scene out of that, then I take the minutes, which are very small,
and then expand on them.
Then what language do I use? So I'll get my references from somewhere else that, okay, Dr. Ambedkar used this kind of language. And Pandit Nehru used this kind of a language. And Shyama Prasad Mukherjee used this kind of a language. And somebody else from South, Mr. Iyer, used this kind of a language. Mr. Iyengar used this kind of a language. And you recreate those scenes. Similarly, there's a lot of things which you come to know about that actually there was an impasse. And to break that impasse, Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel visited Dr. Ambedkar in his home. What happened? Nobody knows. But you know that next day, Sardar, after this visit of Sardar Patel to Ambedkar, Ambedkar, who had resigned from the assembly, took back the resignation. So now what happened inside, nobody knows. But you cannot say, iske baad kya hua, hame nahi pata, ab aage dekhiye. You have to tell people that, yes, I know.
This happened.
And this is the result. You know that Ambedkar ji had given resignation, you know that Sardar Patel visited him, and you know that he took back that. Now, this is a lovely area, but this is where I can be 100% creative. क्या बात की होगी सरदार पटेल कि अम्बेडकर साहब ने अगले दिन resignation वापस ले लिया. तो इसलिए how whatever is in front of you has to be in front of you. How what is not in front of you, you have to be creative and create it. It's a great mix of non-fiction and fiction both.
Atulji, we know that in India in particular, films are one area which offer a lot to the people who want to become actors. People can come from all walks of life, although there is a lot of talk about nepotism. But I have my own views about nepotism. I mean, it can't just be nepotism because there are so many famous actors whose sons and daughters didn't make it. So the ones who make it do eventually make it on the basis of their talent rather than just the relationship. But a large number of young people want to become actors in India. What advice would you give to those budding actors or people who want to be budding actors? What do they need to do? How do they get a break? How do they make that first contact which gets them on the right track?
This is true, that especially in India, well, one can mention a few names of the Fondas and of the different actors where there have been 3 generations of people doing the same business of acting, the business of directing. What happens when a child is growing in a certain kind of environment, to him to fall in love with that medium is understandable.
Well, you know, doctors' children become doctors.
But especially in India,
yeah,
this thing doesn't happen in US. This doesn't happen in England that much as it happens in India. The doctor's son will be a doctor. I am a third generation man because my grandfather was a doctor, my father, mother were a doctor. I'm the only black sheep in the family who did not become a doctor. They were expecting me to be a doctor, but I chose to go into another field. हमारे यहाँ क्या होता है कि अब आज की तारीख में फोर्ड इंडस्ट्री जो है अमेरिका में फोर्ड वाले नहीं चला रहे, कोई और चला रहा है। आज की तारीख में हिंदुस्तान में सिर्फ टाटा सन्स एक ऐसी कंपनी है जिसको कि कोई चंद्रशेखर नाम का आदमी चला रहा है, जो कि टाटा नहीं है, जो कि पारसी भी नहीं है। लेकिन सवाल ये है कि हिंदुस्तान में लार्जली बिरला का बेटा बिरला होता है और फिर उसका बेटा भी बिरला होता है जो कि कंपनी चलाता है, और अंबानी का बेटा अंबानी होता है और उसका बेटा भी अंबानी होता है जो कंपनी चलाता है, वगैरह वगैरह। लार्जली इस तरह का नेपोटिज्म हर फील्ड में है इंडिया में।
जी, ऑफ कोर्स।
हमारे यहाँ तो अभी दूसरे जो चीफ जस्टिस हुए थे चंद्रचूड़, उनके फादर भी चीफ जस्टिस थे, तो हमारे हर फील्ड में ऐसा है, पॉलिटिक्स में ऐसा ही है हमारे यहाँ बहुत ज्यादा लार्जली ये सब के सब जो है इन सब में नेपोटिज्म चलता है। एंड इट हेल्प्स, एज यू सेड, इट हेल्प्स ओपन द डोर्स इनिशियली. After that, you have to deliver.
Absolutely.
If you deliver, you can't be there. And that's what we have seen in Bombay film industry also. That the first contact is easier. लेकिन उसके बाद में
when you have to make it.
You have to make it. You have to have that basic talent. But one thing, even before you looking for that, how you make the first door open and how do you make the contact, is the training. Is the training.
So you would tell young people? Young
people must train and train. Most of the young people take a 2-month training and think that that can make them an actor. You go to a doctor who will tell you, I've been in a medical college for 2 months. Or an engineer who tells that, I've done a workshop in engineering for 1 month at IIT.
Of course.
So how can you expect an actor to be trained in 2 months, 3 months, 6 months? It has to be at least 3 to 5 years of training. You take that 3 to 5 years of training, then you are on a firm ground. Then you go and the contacts will come easily to you.
Wow.
Of course. So this training is a very essential thing. And those, I mean, sometimes I'm surprised, for example, Jaya Bachchan came through a training in the Film Institute.
Yeah.
Mr. Amitabh Bachchan didn't go to an institute, but had the training with his parents as a theatre actor. Whose father, who was writing in Hindi and directing a lot of Shakespeare, whose mother was an actress herself, तेजी जी, जिनका लेना देना यही लाहौर कॉलेज से है और इसी शहर लाहौर से है, तेजी बच्चन जी का. He got his basic training and tools from the theatre happening at his own home. Now you want your son to not train, or actually you want your son to be trained in business school in Harvard and come and become an actor. How is it possible? So this is something which is not right for anything, and that's why perhaps his son has not been as successful as the father or as the mother.
Talking about Teji Bachchan and the Bachchan family, one thing that's always intrigued me about Amitabh Bachchan is we all know that the first 13 films he did were flops. 13 films flopped. What I want to know is, after 13 flops, why would a director or producer give him another chance? What were the reasons?
Well, they saw the potential there and they did not put the blame at his door. Right. They have been a fool to put a blame at his door. Not only 13 films flopped, he could not clear his radio audition. Because they thought, no, his voice is too deep and too this and too that. So there are people who are not. एक हिंदी में बड़ा अच्छा एक टर्म है जिसको कहते हैं गुण ग्राहक. गुण इज द क्वालिटी और ग्राहक मतलब a consumer, a connoisseur of that quality.
उर्दू में इसकी है हीरे की पहचान जोहरी को
होती है. उसके लिए अगर आप जोहरी नहीं है तो कितना भी चमके आप नहीं यार ये कुछ ज्यादा ही चमक रहा है, नकली लग रहा है, अरे भाई असली वाला हीरा है इसलिए इतना चमक रहा है. बिल्कुल असली हीरे आपने देखे नहीं है इसलिए आप नहीं पहचान पाते. तो जिन लोगों ने 13 फिल्मों के बाद ही उनको जगह दी और अब आप उठा के उन 13 फिल्मों को देखिए, उसमें आपको इस आदमी का काम बुरा नहीं लगेगा.
He was amazing. I've seen a lot of this. It was like Ek Nazar is one of my favorite films. It was an amazing film. Atulji, you've just worked on a very, very important project called Mujib.
Mujib, the making of a nation.
Can you tell us a little bit about what your experience was working in collaboration with Shyam Benegal?
I've been collaborating with Shyam Babu for the last 36 years.
Wow.
From 1988-89 till his death on the 23rd of December, which is hardly 6-7 weeks
Not
back.
very long ago.
It was always a pleasure working with him. And when he got this call that would you like to direct a film on Jeep, he immediately called me and said, "Shall we work on this?" I said, "Oh, it's a wonderful subject because what a dramatic subject it is. A man who fought a battle with his own nation. He was not fighting the British. He did fight the British before the independence because he was in politics right from 1942 onwards. In his own way, under the tutelage of Sohrawardi Sahab in Kolkata, where he was studying at the Islamic College, he did fight the battle with the British. He did fight the battle with the famine of 1942. But now, after a new nation is built and he's totally committed to the new nation, he had to fight his own nation for getting the rights which were denied to the majority of that nation called Pakistan, because 56% of the population, and it's ironic that we are sitting in Pakistan and talking about this subject in Lahore, that 56% of the population lived in Bengal, in East Bengal those days, or East Pakistan those days. And only 44% people lived this side, which were also divided into 4 language groups, 4 ethnic groups. There it was all Bengali. And when he, all what he was asking for, that make Bengali also a national language apart from Urdu. Nobody's language was Urdu. थोड़ी बहुत पंजाब में बोली जाती थी, लेकिन nobody's Sindhi's language was not Urdu. Baluchi's language was not Urdu. Bengali's language is not Urdu. And he says, when 56% of your people don't speak a certain language, why do you want to make it a national language? Okay, do make it as your Nasab wanted it. But also give the same status to Bengali, the language of the majority people. When it was denied, then he ultimately had to start this whole big agitation, which was called the 6 Points Program, where they were asking for 6 Points Program, that if you can't give us our language, then give us other kinds of independence, including that our budget should be separate from your budget. And moreover, these 56% people living in the East Pakistan brought in more dollars from outside because of their exports. But despite that, when the budget allocations were made, more went to the West for the 44% people than to the 56% people. So all these things were piled up. And when he started this agitation, they sent the troops, and what happened in 1971 between the 26th of March and the 16th of December, we know.
Yes.
In which then, from the 3rd of December, India also had joined the war.
I'm trying to keep this away from politics.
Yes.
So, what was it like working with Shyam Benegal? What was his approach? I had the honor of meeting him when I went to Bombay. He was such a wonderful person. So mild-mannered.
Working with Shyam Babu was always wonderful. Let me tell you my first work meeting with him, which I've also mentioned in my latest book on Shyam Benegal. My first work meeting was that time he was making The Discovery of India, the series based on Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru's book. And he always gave so much work to the newcomers. It's not only the Nasiruddin Shah and Ompuri and Shabana Azmi and Smita Patel and this and that, but the list is endless. When he was doing this 5,000 years of Indian history in 53 episodes, the whole of National School of Drama, those who were coming, it was in Bombay when you went to his sets, it felt like that you had come back to the National School of Drama. Because all of them, including Nazir Bhai and Om, who were all on the sets, they all came from National School of Drama. So you felt like that you are at your room later. And hundreds of young actors. So these boys, I had not shifted to Bombay at that time. And I was just visiting Bombay. So my classmates and my juniors and seniors all said, Atul, you come meet Shyam Babu, it's a great man. And I always looked up to him and I went to meet him. And when I went to meet him on the sets, he was living in the film city for 1 year while making this film. So in his office, inside the film city, he called me, "Yes, young man, I heard that you write. I said, yes, sir, I have written a film also. He said, yeah, I've seen that film. This was Sudeep Mishra's Ye Wo Manzil To Nahi.
ये वो मंजिल तो
Ye
नहीं.
Wo Manzil To Nahi. Sudeep Mishra's first film, which is also my first film as a writer, dialogue writer. I've seen your work, young man. What should you write for me? Sir, tell me. So Pandit Nehru had written this book in 1939, and he said at the end of the book, I would like to revise it sometime. So you don't revise a book next year, a book of history, such a long history. 5,000 साल की history में अगले साल तो कुछ बदल नहीं जाएगा, कुछ और होगा तब तक. But by the time the new things happened in India, he was too busy, and then he was put in the jail in 1942. By the time he came out, he had already become a provisional prime minister, and then he became the prime minister, etc. So he never got a time to revise this book. But I want to take the story at least till 1947 and not end it in 39 suddenly. Do you know any of the stories between 39 and 47? So, I was a very knowledgeable person at that time. Today I'm a fool, I know it. But at that time, when you come out of the Institute of Drama and you have kind of topped the institute, this, that, so then you are a very wise person. So I started giving him keys. So yeah, I know a lot. I know about that agitation. I know about that, this, that, that accident, this, Famine, and I thought I had impressed him. Good. But have you heard about that town and what had happened there? I said, where is this town? Then he asked me again, and have you heard about that agitation which happened in South India? So I said, I've not heard it. Then he gave me a dozen more examples of what I had missed. And I knew what a great man I was sitting with. Then he said, anyway, you have given me a good list. Choose one of them. Well, I chose something. I chose the story of Balia in 1942. Balia was a small town near Banaras, but a big district. And in the British Parliament, Balia was a place which got independent for 15 days in 1942, after Gandhi's agitation started. And how the world came to know that it had become independent was when the British Prime Minister Attlee made a statement in the Parliament of Britain that Balia has been reconquered. Suddenly the whole opposition got up and said, what do you mean by reconquered, Prime Minister? Did we ever lose Balia, a part of India? Then he had to admit that yes, we lost one whole district for 15 years. Yes, our district commissioner was put into the jail by the Indians. All the flags were flying with tricolor. And the British flag had been brought down. Union Jack had been brought down in Balia, etc., etc. Then the whole story of Balia came up. What had happened in Balia? So I said, sir, I told you the story, I know the story, but I'll have to go and research. And he said, yes, go and research. Tell me how much money you need to go and research. I said, sir, it'll take about 15 days. I'll go from here to here, there. And I need about 5,000 rupees. 5,000 rupees? मुझे लगा भी कहेंगे ज़्यादा है 2,000 रुपये जाओ. Very normal.
Everybody barters.
He called his man. Raj, come here. His assistant came to him. Give this young man 10,000 rupees. मैंने सर मैंने 5 ही मांगे थे. मुझे मालूम 5 मांगे थे. जो बच जाएगा वो तुम्हें वापस करोगे. जिनके साथ काम करता हूँ उनको पूरा यकीन करता हूँ.
How wonderful.
What else do you need from your director?
Wonderful.
If
I
he
had
trusts you.
He did so much. I was there with my daughter for a week and he did so much for us. Atulji, when we do something for a very long time, it eventually becomes routine and it becomes stale. And I'm saying this as a barrister. I constantly need new challenges to stay interested. How do you stay creatively inspired and motivated in your work?
The best thing about my business, my line of business, is that a lot of it is, as you told me about it, I've done a lot of histories, I've done a lot of biopics, and I do a lot of museums. If I'm talking about the non-fiction side of my work. And there, every subject is a challenge. I may think that I know about Mujibur Rahman, but I don't. When I get deep into it, when I have to make a film, then I have to give you not only the political side, but also the personal side.
Of course.
I don't know whether you know that how Muhammad Ali Jinnah Sahab addressed his sister. Did you call him always Fatima? There must have been a nickname that you don't know.
Of course.
When you are making a film,
You have to find out.
you have to find out. Or maybe in public he'll say कि फातिमा बेगम यहाँ आइए बैठ. लेकिन जब वो लोग चले जाएंगे तब तो यही कहेगा ना कि बिन्नी यहाँ आओ. ये क्या खराब तुमने चाय बना दिया. तो यही कहेंगे ना. तो ये भी तो एक आपको एक्साइटमेंट देता है. शेख मुजीबुर रहमान की बीवी, और बांग्लादेश में हर एक के 2 नाम होते थे. एक तो उर्दू नाम और एक हिंदू नाम. हर एक का ऐसा ही होता है नाम. तो उनकी बीवी का नाम जो फजलुल निसा था, उनको रेनू कहते थे. और रेनू क्या कहती थी, आपने कभी सोचा है कि वो शेख मुजीब को क्या कहती थी? ये सवाल मैंने शेख हसीना जी से पूछा और जवाब दिया तो मैं हंसते हंसते दोहरा हो गया. वो उनको 2 नामों से पुकारती थी. या तो बूढ़ो, बूढ़ो मतलब बूढ़े,
बूढ़ो,
क्योंकि उनसे वो 10 साल बड़े थे उम्र में. या तो कहते हैं बूढ़े यहाँ आओ. बहुत सी हिंदुस्तानी बीवियां भी कहती हैं. हमारी माँ मेरे बाप को कहती है बुढ़ाऊ, सुनो मेरी बात सुनो. तो या तो उनको कहती थी बूढ़ो यानी बुजुर्ग आदमी, और या उनको कहती थी कैदी. कैदी because he spent so much time in jail that he used to call him, ए कैदी यहाँ आओ. और तुम बनियान बदलो, तुम्हारी गंदी हो रही, लोग तुमसे मिलने आ रहे हैं. क्योंकि कैदी तो वही लुंगी और तहमत तो बनियान पहन के बैठता था ना घर में. थोड़ी ना कहता था मैं प्राइम मिनिस्टर को पहले मुझे कुर्ता पहन. कोई भी आ रहा है घर में, आ रहा है, वो आया होगा, ठीक है. तो अब ये कितनी एक्साइटिंग चीजें आपको मिलती हैं हिस्ट्री में भी. और इसी तरह की एक्साइटिंग चीजें आपको नॉन फिक्शन में भी ढूंढनी पड़ती है, मतलब फिक्शन में भी ढूंढनी पड़ती हैं. क्योंकि unless it has that excitement of something new, your fiction is not going to work. तो इसलिए हमारे यहाँ तो हर बार सब्जेक्ट बदलता है. अगर मैं एक दिन गांधी के म्यूजियम पे काम कर रहा हूँ तो अगले दिन मैं बनारस शहर के म्यूजियम पे काम कर रहा हूँ. तीसरे दिन मैं सरदार पटेल के म्यूजियम पे काम कर रहा हूँ. चौथे दिन मैं मैंने आर्कियोलॉजी का एक म्यूजियम बनाया है इंडिया में. तो इसलिए हर बार एक नया चैलेंज मेरे पास होता है और मैं उन सब्जेक्ट का एक्सपर्ट नहीं हूँ. यानी मुझे फिर से तालिब इल्म बनना पड़ता है.
And that's your inspiration and
That's the
motivation.
inspiration.
Atulji, what are your future goals and aspirations in the field of entertainment?
Well, हजारों ख्वाहिशें ऐसी कि हर ख्वाहिश
बहुत निकले मेरे
अरमान, लेकिन
फिर भी कम निकले.
बहुत से अरमान हैं. और देखिए, मेरा अरमान है कि मेरे लखनऊ पे मैं कुछ बना सकूं. मेरा लखनऊ जो कि एक ज़माने में नवाबों का शहर था, लेकिन रेवोल्यूशनरीज का भी शहर था. वहाँ अगर हमारे नवाब थे वाजिद अली शाह, तो हमारी बेगम का नाम था हजरत महल, जो कि अंग्रेज़ों से लड़ी थी. और ऐसा लड़ी थी कि जितने अंग्रेज़ हमारी रेजिडेंसी, जो ब्रिटिश की रेजिडेंसी थे, मारे गए हैं जहाँ 1000 से ऊपर, उतने कहीं इंडिया में एक साथ मारे ही नहीं गए. आपने सुना इंडिया में कोई जगह जहाँ 1000 अंग्रेज एक साथ मारे गए? लखनऊ में मारे गए. और क्यों मारे गए? बिकॉज नवाब साहब की बेगम लोग गई थी. इसलिए और आपके ब्रिटेन से लोग आते हैं हमारे लखनऊ में सेमेट्री में, जिनके भी दादा नाने जो थे 1857 में, वो आते हैं वहाँ पे. लखनऊ के बैकग्राउंड बनाने की बहुत तमन्ना है और तमाम चीजें हैं. लेकिन देखिए कि हमारे कितने अरमान निकलते हैं.
अतुल जी, बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया. थैंक यू सो मच फॉर टॉकिंग टू अस. थैंक यू.
आपसे इतनी पुरानी दोस्ती है मेरी, और बहुत अच्छा लगा इस बार जबकि हम और आप मिले और हमने आपसे मिल के कुछ बातचीत इस तरह की भी की
जो जरा डिजिटल एज में रह जाएगी,
जो डिजिटल एज में रह जाएगी. और हमने आपने एक दूसरे को जिस तरह से जाना, मेरे रेडियो के करियर से लेकर के और यहाँ तक.
जी. अब अगर ये कैमरा बंद कर देंगे तो फिर मैं आपसे कुछ थोड़ी सी बातें ऑफ द रिकॉर्ड करूँ.